It is 1 week until pitchers and catchers report out in Goodyear, so it is time for report cards, and I'm giving the Cincinnati Reds
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Reds podcast. Locked On Reds is part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are now the #1 sports podcast network in the country, and we're your team every single day. Hi, my name's Jeff. His name's Steve, and we are lifelong Cincinnati Reds fans. We've been podcasting about this team for a combined 16 seasons, going on to 16 seasons, that is. And we're glad that you're alongside us here for takes and analysis you ain't gonna get anywhere else. On today's show, a little bit later on, we're going to tell you why it's going to be a lot easier to watch Reds games this year in the local market because of a new change. In a few minutes, we will look at the thing that everybody's worried about Eugenio Suarez, and we're going to tell you why you shouldn't be worried based on a guy that we thought the Reds might go after earlier on in the offseason. But we're going to begin with off-season grades, as it's pretty clear. I think the Reds are pretty much done making moves this offseason. And joining us to do all of this will be Reds Postcast host Tim Daniel. Tim, welcome on, dude. What you got for us?
51 days, fellas. So I am back on the feed. I am back on the YouTube channel. I am back. 51 days.
Already warming up.
Listen, the first place we got to start is, Tim, you got to fix your camera angle because it looks like you're in a car seat between me and Jeff in the car right now.
It's true. It's true. I've been working on this. Yeah.
You got it. There you go. There we go. Look, you're all grown up.
Do you guys like
Solid
my new
work
posters,
there.
by the way? I upgraded from last season.
Nice posters.
Solid
work.
work.
Yeah.
We're ready to go. And I know this. The Reds finally made the move that we were asking them to. They fixed, or at least got a better option for the middle of their lineup with Eugenio Suarez. The one thing that we've been begging for all offseason long, we got it, and that's on top of the bullpen moves that they made. So let's go around. Steve, start with you. Great for the offseason is?
Here we go. I am going to give them a B+. And if you listened to our show yesterday, you heard me preview that just a little bit. I'm going with the B+. The reason that it's not an A, look, they did tremendous work in making this bullpen better. The pitching staff is pretty much complete. They have one of the best pitching staffs in baseball now, in my mind, between the starters and the relief pitchers with the work they did at the bullpen. That was keeping them from getting a failing grade. Now they have gone out and added 49 home runs.
Maybe 59.
Yeah, 49 home runs to the lineup. Elly De La Cruz now has 100 home runs in the lineup behind him for the 2026 baseball season. That is a tremendous upgrade. That's what we asked them to do. That took them from a D to a B+ for me. Here's why they don't get an A. Left field is still a train wreck. Left field has been a trade wreck since somewhere around 2017. Nobody will address the outfield. Nobody will get a bopper in the corner outfield that the Reds have so desperately needed. And for me, that keeps them from having an A offseason. The outfield still needs to be fixed. If we're talking right now, Jeff, if we went into what's the deadline move need to be? It needs to be a left fielder, and it's needed to be a left fielder for years now. So that kept them from getting him an A. All that being said, though, Nick Krall did a tremendous job this offseason. The B+, he turned nearly failing. He was in remediation, went to some Saturday school. We know he became an everydayer this year. Clicked the subscribe. He clicked the notification bell. We gave him some tips. He followed through. He got us Gino. I'm happy with the B+. I think he's probably paying the $5 a month, guys. He's in the ad free now. He's all in. He's part of the everydayer club. He's on the Discord. He's checking it out.
Well, Tim, Steve's omission of Jesse Winker notwithstanding, I get what he's saying. The left field's been a problem for a while now. And I agree with the grade, I believe. I think I'm B+ somewhere in there. I kind of put it this way. Like, I feel like the Reds did the thing that they needed to do without doing what everybody was worried about. Everybody at the beginning of the offseason was worried that the Reds had to trade one of their starting pitchers to get it done. They would have to trade a Hunter Green or an Andrew Rabbit or an Nick Krall to get the upgrade to the lineup that they needed. I think they got that in Eugenio Suarez. Is the lineup amazing? No, but the lineup is better than where it was last year because it has the one thing that it was missing in the middle, and that is power. And I'm with you. I think that there were other moves that they could have made were a little bit better. Obviously, Kyle Schwarber would have been better than a Eugenio Suarez, but at the end of the day, there's a conversation to be had about that move and how it compares to the big picture, albeit we'll have that another day. All in all, I feel like the Reds have put themselves in the conversation for this division. And for that reason, I'm giving them a B+. And quite frankly, as somebody who skated through college on B+, that's a pretty good grade.
I didn't have any pluses.
I also was thinking B+.
Listeners about your GPA. So you stop it.
He was an SID. He was busy, all right? But
I was.
I also was going to go the B+ route. And so everything you guys said, obviously I'm the third guy, so they probably, our everydayers probably don't want to hear me say the same thing you guys did. But I feel like the fact that they got the protection for Elly De La Cruz we all wanted, they got maybe some Tyler Stevenson insurance if all goes bad. We'll see how that plays out. I'm not 100% super confident in that. They kept their rotation together. They improved the bullpen, and they got a new, Willie Harris is on the coaching staff now as a base coach. So that can only be an upgrade from where we were on that spot too. So I feel like B+ is totally rational and totally fair.
You talked about Kyle Schwarber there for a second, Jeff, and let's put this in perspective. I said yesterday, I thought this was a really good deal for the Reds front office, the contract they actually got for Gino. Kyle Schwarber hit 7 more home runs than Eugenio Suarez and is going to make $15 million more than Gino is this season. Yeah. Nick Krall did a thing. He got a job done. 7 home runs different, $15 million. That's a tremendous deal for the Reds front office.
And he did it on a 1-year deal. I mean, I know there's a mutual option for 2027, but he did it on a 1-year deal where this feels like, all right, let's wait one more season to see if Matt McLain's going to figure it out. Let's wait to see, is Sal Stewart going to blossom into a middle of the order type guy? Is Noel V. Marte going to take a step forward? Is Elly De La Cruz going to take a step forward? Gino kind of feels like insurance to some of that. Obviously, if that all goes wrong, then there's not one player that would supplement that. See every year of the Los Angeles Angels with Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani on it and all of their playoff wins. But when it comes to this one move, it brings everything else into focus, because as many times as we were happy about Pierce Johnson, Caleb Ferguson, Brock Burke, the return of Emilio Pagan, and how much better the bullpen looked, we kept coming back to, yeah, but run production. What's that going to look like this year? Tim, I feel like they can at least tick that up just a little bit in their expectations.
Yeah, man. I mean, how many times last year did I have to go on a game, after a game and be like, well, they lost 1-0 tonight, or they lost 2-1 tonight, or they lost 3-1. Too many, way too many. And now it feels like that is not as much of a reality anymore. I'm sure that's going to happen sometimes, right? It's 162 games. You're going to have some stinkers in there. But now it feels like, Elly De La Cruz is going to have to see a lot more pitches. And if he's really worked on everything we saw last year, if he does have both legs and he's confident in himself again, we're going to see him do things with those pitches, because people are going to be scared to have him on first base with Suarez right behind him. That's just going to be something that Suarez hits one in the gap. We know what Ellie's going to do, no matter what base he's on. And so that just kind of makes it feel better. It feels like one thing this team has missed in years past. I know Steve and I have disagreed on this in the past, as far as like, what does a leader necessarily mean? But now they have a been there, done that kind of guy. I know Suarez doesn't have a World Series to his name or anything like that, but he is a guy who has played in professional baseball for a very long time. He's not a stranger to the National League Central, obvious reasons. He spurned the Pittsburgh Pirates and coming to Cincinnati, which makes me even happier because they offer him the same amount of money. So now it just feels like they kind of have that, when things aren't going well, that guy they can look to. And maybe I'm overstating this. Like I said, I know this is a conversation a lot of people are having, but I feel like they finally have that guy who can just kind of like keep everyone's shoulders up and kind of keep the clubhouse light and, teach the kids how to be adults a little bit more. So,
I don't necessarily disagree that you need a veteran presence or that you need veteran leadership, air quotes around those words. Jeff and I talked about this a little bit yesterday, Tim. I believe that Gino brings some experience. It's good to have around. It's good for players to have somebody that's a peer that they can go talk to and ask about, what was it like when you faced this guy and what was that like and how did you adjust and what did you? Those things are important. I just don't think the veteran leadership aspect of it is as important in the, the stats age that
Sure.
we're in, where all the information is available and all the things are available. But it is important to have a guy like Gino that you can go to. We talked yesterday, Tim, Matt McLain's the leader of this team. Matt McLain, we heard at Reds Fest, he's the guy that everybody looks at as one of the leaders of this club. But Gino now brings in that element of wisdom to go along with that leadership. So, Matt's going to lead and Gino's going to provide some wisdom. And I love that. But the big concern that everybody has about Eugenio Suarez, they want to talk about batting average and they want to talk about the number of times that Gino strikes out. And it has us asking, what the whiff?
Hiring isn't just about finding someone willing to take the job. It's about finding the right person with the right background who can actually help your business move forward. And if you want candidates who match what you're looking for, Indeed sponsored jobs is the move, because instead of hoping that the right person stumbles across your post, Indeed helps you match with quality candidates by boosting your job listing to the people who fit your special criteria, like skills, certifications, and location. Because as we always say on this podcast, hope is not a strategy. Have a good strategy with Indeed. Spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all the boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job to the premium status that it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Do it the right way with Indeed.
Thanks, as always, for making Locked On Reds your first listen each and every day. We appreciate you for helping make the Locked On Sports Podcast Network the #1 sports podcasting network in all the land. You already live this team every single day. Now you can join the Everydayer Club and elevate it to an ad-free experience over on the audio side. Join the Everydayers Club. You're going to get ad-free audio versions of the show. You're going to get access to the Locked On Network Discord servers. So you can get Jeff and I on the Discord server for Locked On Reds, but you're also going to get every single Locked On host from every single team across the network in their individual spaces. So you can talk sports with everybody on the Locked On networks. $5 a month, $50 a year. Check out the link down in the show description to get started today. All right. So much angst about Gino's batting average, the clutching of the pearls that people have, not looking at the 100+ RBIs, not looking at the 49 home runs. Oh my God, his batting average was 220 and he struck out so much. What the whiff, Jeff Carr?
Well, it's interesting, Steve, because this has been a question I've heard a lot over the last 24 hours. Ever since the Reds got him, there's been plenty of people, and I'd say a good solid majority, that are super excited about this. The folks that aren't are just like, but what about the strikeouts? What about the low batting average? Let me tell you about the strikeouts, Steve, because Eugenio Suarez was pretty low on the totem pole as far as whiff rate and strikeout rate on Baseball Savant. He was in the 4 percentile. Yeah, 4 percentile of whiff rate, 5 percentile of strikeouts. So very, very low. You know who was lower than him on the whiff rate? Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge is pretty good. You know who was right next to him in whiff rate? Kyle Schwarber. And I think everybody wanted Kyle Schwarber. And the fact that we're talking about whiff rate, we're talking about swinging and missing, striking out, and all this other stuff. You know who else was lower? Actually, same percentile. This is Eugenio Suarez. Shohei Ohtani.
He's pretty
Are
good.
we really complaining about strikeout rates and swing and miss rates with Ohtani, Judge, and Schwarber? Because if you are, you don't know ball.
Maybe those other two, but Schwarber's from Middletown, so he gets a pass.
That's true.
But no, Tim, I find this strange. Like, you look at the 49 bombs and you look at the 118 ribs, and everybody's like, yeah, but he strikes out. I don't know about that, man.
Yeah, this isn't, this goes back to a conversation we have all the time. This is not 1992. Things have changed. People want to bring this up, and they want to bring up the whiff rate and this and that. He strikes out too much. He does this. He does that. Mike Trout strikes out a lot, by the way, in his prime. He did that a lot. Bryce Harper strikes out a lot. Did in the prime. People really wanted Nick Castellanos. Some people that I'm sharing a screen with went gung-ho about maybe getting Nick Castellanos back. Nick Castellanos strikes out a lot. What people aren't talking about is the 89 percentile in barrel, the 78 percentile in hard hit, the 73 percentile in expected sluggy, the 89th percentile in batting run value. Do you understand? The Reds added a guy to hit behind the fastest player in baseball with an 89 percentile in batting run value. Do you know what that means, people? It means that if Elly De La Cruz is on first base and Eugenio Suarez puts one in the gap, whether that's in Cincinnati, that's in San Francisco, that's in Sacramento, that's in Maine, doesn't matter. Elly's scoring. So we're going to literally look at this and you're going to go, if you say but the strikeouts, I've got nothing for you. This is a guy the Reds have not only stolen once, but twice to be on their team at 2 different times. 1 to trade for Alfredo Simon and 2 now. We got to enjoy this.
Do you know how excited I am?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm going to make a food transition for you real quick, Steve, because this is like when somebody tells me about the health problems with hot dogs. Yeah, I don't care. I'm eating hot dogs.
That's exactly right. Can you imagine trying to focus and pitch to Gino with Elly on first base and trying to prevent him from stealing second, stealing third, and maybe stealing home on you? And we get to watch that every day. I can't wait. So many pitchers are going to screw up and groove fastballs to Gino because they're worried about what Elly is doing. It's going to be so much fun. And if he strikes out every once in a while, I'll say it again. I've said it several times. I do not care.
Yeah, because like the flip side of this, when you flip the list and you look at the guys who don't strike out at all, one of them just signed for more money, or I think more money than Gino. I can't remember exactly how much Luis Arias is making with the Giants, but Luis Arias is that guy. 100% percentile on the strikeouts. He can't hit elsewise. It's singles. It's all singles all the time. And as much as there are plenty of people that like to make the whole rally and string hits together and all this other stuff, I want somebody who can change the game with one swing. Luis Arias is not that guy. Eugenio Suarez is.
Right. 1 year, $12 million for Arias from the Giants.
So it was a little bit less. Okay, so I'm wrong in the money aspect of this, but also Luis Arias was like, I want to play second base. Hey, it ain't happening here.
True that, man. Yeah, man, it's just a total game changer for the Reds. And like, I just feel like, I'm going to say a hot take here, but I feel like Children of the Machine just look at that's how baseball should forever be played. And things have just changed so much in 50 years.
Is that the next Cam Miller documentary, Children of the Machine? Is that what it sounds very.
I think that's going to be directed by Guillermo del Toro.
That sounds like the 30 on 30, right? Like the Children of the Machine in Cincinnati. It's the machine. But your point's not wrong, Tim. In that people tend to harken back to what baseball was like in their childhood and then apply that label to what's going on right now, and you just can't do that. Right? Yeah, the hitting, people strike out more. People are trying to hit home runs. You know, the Tony Gwynn, 5.5 hole philosophy doesn't really exist in baseball anymore. But you know what? The pitching is a whole lot better. Nobody likes to talk about it, but some of the guys that we consider greats in all of baseball, I don't know that they could handle some of the stuff that's coming out of the bullpens these days. I mean, you go back and watch what guys were facing in the 70s and 80s versus what's on the mound right now. It is a whole different breed of baseball. So I don't know, we talk about things like OPS plus and we talk about the numbers, trying to be able to look at a team from 1909 and a team from 2009 and a team from 2019 and be able to say, we can compare all of those teams. There are aspects that you cannot, and batting average is one of them. Strikeout rates is another one of them. The game is just different. If there was a determined shift that started today, right now, that every hitter in baseball said, we are no longer going to try and hit home runs. We're going back to the 5.5 Tony Gwynn philosophy. I think the hitters could adjust and do that. And you would see batting averages come way up, but home runs would crater. You would not see the long ball anymore. And as we learned in the 90s from guys like Tom Glavine and, John Smoltz, chicks dig the long ball. We need the long ball in baseball.
Amen. And the other part of this too, like, there's a chart on baseballsavant.com that I like to look at when it comes to percentile rankings and things like that. And without getting too far into the maths of it all, blue is bad and red is good. When the whiff rate and the strikeout rates are blue, pretty much generally the quality of contact rates are all red. I mean, Aaron Judge is in the 100 percentile in pretty much everything except for whiff rate and strikeout rate. Those are blue. Everything else is red. And then when you flip it and when you see that strikeout rate and whiff rate is red and good, most of the quality of contact metrics are blue and not good, because those guys like lose power to focus too much on plate discipline, and they're slap hitters, and they're just making sure that they put the ball where they ain't. And if he doesn't do that, then at least he hit the ball in play and it's a ground out, and he doesn't get dinged for a strikeout or something like that. I don't want guys that focus too much on not striking out. I want guys that do damage. Eugenio Suarez does damage. He improves this lineup so much more than somebody else who is too worried about not striking out. And I think it's silly to just get overburdened with the idea that, oh, we need somebody that doesn't strike out too much. Like, that does not matter anymore.
Yeah. I talked about a lot this season. Sorry to cut you off, but
no, you're good.
The replacement of Eugenio Suarez for Austin Hayes. Austin Hayes grounded into 15 double plays with Elly De La Cruz on first base this year. If Eugenio Suarez strikes out, I would much rather have the strikeout than grounding into double plays.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a really good point too. Like, the ground into double play of it all. If you put the ball in play and it's on the ground, especially if you're facing the Cubs this year with Swanson and Bregman on the left side, it's going to be a ground out. It's going to be a double play more often than not. So the strikeout might not actually be all that bad. All right, coming up next, it's going to be easier for most of us, unless you live in Hawaii, to watch the Reds next year. Tax season does not have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax Full Service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person, or you can connect with them online. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing that an expert is handling all of the fine details. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. If you can't watch us on YouTube, you can always listen to us on your favorite podcast app. We're on all of them, so make sure you check us out there today. And by the way, got a great episode coming up for you tomorrow. Steve and I are going to discuss this. He doesn't know this yet, but I think there's an argument to be made that the Reds actually got a better deal when you look at the big picture of Eugenio Suarez compared to Kyle Schwarber. We'll discuss that on tomorrow's podcast. I will say this. We had a great breakdown of the Suarez deal on Sunday evening and really did a good job of laying out why the Reds are division contenders. And I think it's important to note that following that up, there's a great report Charlie Goldsmith had that he said, according to sources, the Reds do not need to make another move to pay for this deal. They are going all in on this season to be competitive for 2026. And following that up is the news that they will now be broadcast by MLB TV. It's going to officially be called Reds TV, which if you have cable or whatnot, I think that there will be a certain channel. They haven't announced what that is. More details to come on that, at least according to Reds.com. But you can subscribe to the MLB TV app, and I think it's $99 for the whole season or $19.99 per month if you're in the local market, and there's no blackouts in the local market. And that extends from like Ohio to Indiana, I think parts of Illinois, West Virginia, North Carolina, Mississippi. Everybody who's had problems with blackouts, not living on the island of Hawaii, can now not have to worry about that.
Yeah, this is pretty good. I have a little bit of experience with this because as you've heard me complain about in the past, if you're an everydayer, Hawaii is blacked out for every West Coast team from Seattle to San Diego. Every single one of them are blacked out here. So when the Padres went to the MLB TV format last year, on our cable system here in Hawaii, a channel showed up that's the San Diego Padres channel. And that was the agreement between the Padres and the cable provider. And that's where you found the Padres games on the cable system, or you could pay for the app and stream it in market. So it'll be the same for the Reds. Reds TV, you can, for those of you who've been paying $100-something a month for certain online live TV providers to be able to watch the Reds, you can ditch that and just go to the Reds TV format, stream it on your device, cast it to your screen. Or if you have some of the cable providers there in the greater Cincinnati area, you should see that Reds channel show up, because the Reds are going to get deals with all of those providers. It's going to happen. So you're going to be able to watch the Reds, which is the most important takeaway. The money of it all, we haven't heard yet. Baseball has previously said they weren't going to subsidize teams this year. So I love that the Reds front office and the Castellinis, and God help me now for what I have to say, I appreciate the Castellinis for getting the hell out of the way and letting Nick Krall sign a Eugenio Suarez. And I feel nauseous. I need some Zofran. That made me feel dirty, but good job on the Castellinis letting Krall do his thing, getting the player that we needed and not tying it to some fictitious number that might come from a TV deal. We don't have to talk about trading Tyler Stevenson now unless they want to. It's not a panic move. We don't have to talk about trading Brady Singer right now unless they want to. It's not a panic move. They've got their guys, they've got their payroll, they've got a roster, and they can move forward with a team that I think now is better than the team that we had last year.
100%. And the biggest thing you said there is now I don't have to have Fubo TV anymore. Thank God.
I was trying not to drop any names there, Tim Daniel, but there you go.
but it's so key though, right? Like that was the thing we were all worried about. And honestly, I was even saying this the other day when we were talking about it, like in the back of my mind, I knew as much as I thought that this was going to be good for us, the consumer, I was worried about how the Reds were going to react to this from a revenue standpoint and hold hostage whatever it was their next move was going to be. Because they're like, well, we don't know what our revenue is, so how can we make another move? I firmly expected that, and it wouldn't surprise me. It would have disappointed me, but it would not have surprised me if that's what he said. What surprised me and shocked me and quite frankly about threw me into some sort of euphoric coma is the fact that they said that it didn't matter and that they're all in on this season. That's not something I've heard them say. I think ever. I have a bad memory, but like I can't like draw a certain point in time to where I'm like, that's what they said. That's what Charlie reported. And I believe Charlie when he writes things, and I believe that this was a thing that they said. And that for me,
the closest thing to this that's happened in the Castellini era was when they let Dick Williams go all in, but then COVID derailed what he was trying to do. That, they tried this, but it got blown up, not through any fault of their own. But now we've waited, sometimes patiently, sometimes not. They're trying it again. This is a big offseason for Reds fans. This is a big offseason for us. And, I will say that, the Reds win a bunch of ball games. There's nothing like that ballpark in the summer when the Reds are winning. It will be full. There will be people.
100%.
And that's the key too, Tim, is that knowing what's coming up next offseason, that's why this was so important this offseason. And that's why we're hoping that the expectations we have of this team come to fruition, because this could be such a fun year leading into what's certainly going to be a very concerning year when it comes to the economics of the sport. But I think that for once, like the Reds have positioned themselves to not be the bad guy. Like we can actually talk about the players on the team without the caveat of course, they set them up for failure by not putting together a complete lineup. I kind of feel like they have that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're complaining about Key Brian Hayes still being in the lineup now, I don't know what to tell you, because like he's going to hit 9th, and that's going to be okay. And now I can't.
I don't know that we know that, folks. I don't know that maybe Sal Stewart's not playing third base.
Well,
there's going to be lots to discuss.
Key Brian's got a bobblehead, so we know that they don't like to.
They might not. So listen. I can produce a Tim Daniel bobblehead next week. That don't mean you're batting 9th, buddy.
I don't think you'd have anyone buying that. Yeah, I think so. But
just depends on where you buy that. If you buy that from Etsy, it might be labeled the Jeff Carr bobblehead. I don't know.
Depending if you ask my daughter or not.
Right. Yeah.
A little inside baseball for the everydayers as we wind down this show. We were prepping to come on, and Tim had his daughter on his lap and she looked at the screen and took a look at Jeff Carr and called him daddy. So I don't know. I listen, for all of you people that question whether or not they're really two people, Tim Daniel's daughter does it. Right. And that is where we're going to wrap up this edition of Locked on Reds. Thanks as always for making Locked on Reds your first listen each and every day. For the audio folks, go check out Sully and make Locked on MLB your second listen. Sully has you covered from a national perspective with all things going on in Major League Baseball. And for the video folks, we are going to send you over to Locked on's first ever 24/7 national sports podcast network channel. We've got all of the experts of the Locked on network over there talking sports with you 24/7. You're just going to go there. You don't even have to do anything. Stick around. We'll be back in your feeds tomorrow, keeping you locked on Reds every single day. I think if we put your daughter down and put you guys 15 yards away and see which one she would run to, would she pick you, Tim, or would she go to Jeff?
Don't make me worried about that. That scares me now.
Gonna put a cookie in my pocket.